take us back to the recommendations, and maybe let's try and get a bit of structure back into this thing. And I think it will come down to some tweaking with amendments, and I'll just remind council members that if you do want to move an amendment, rather than tell us all about it, just come straight in with your amendment and get a seconder, and then we'll start that debate. So you're happy to move the recommendations as they stand, and seconder. I'm happy to second that. Do you wish to speak?
Mr. Chairman, I move. Into my mic on. I'm moving this as I do believe this has been through 3 different committees, and I believe that it gets something on the table. Then, if there's an amendment to the wording, that amendment can be set with the wording, and that wording can be debated through an amendment. So I'll amend it as it is now and has been through the various committees.
Okay, I'm happy not to speak. You'll hear me speaking enough probably in the next half an hour. Are there any other speakers?
Mr. Chair, if I oppose this, can I still put an amendment? Okay, thank you.
Because it's not a direct negative. So if you want something you want to add to it or whatever, yeah. There you go. You can do that now.
I would like to recommend an amendment just prior to the last sentence, that the Hawke's Bay Regional Council remains neutral on the substantive issue of whether the local government bodies in Hawke's Bay should amalgamate. However, given the concerns, and just carry on that sentence, given the concerns that we have raised, we are unable to support the draft proposal as it stands.
Seconded for that?
Yeah, I'm happy to second that because it addresses the problem that I had with the last sentence, okay. and it contexts it appropriately.
So Mover, you wish to speak? Speak further.
I think I've outlined my position. I just want to speak to something that Councillor Dick said, that the insinuation that some of us here were elected just to dismantle the regional council is just an atrocious thing for him to say, and certainly, speaking for myself, that's definitely not true. So I just want to put that on the table. The other thing is, I just want to say that, you know, since I've been in the regional council, I've seen the wonderful work they do, and I think that work can be translated, and I don't think we've been geniuses. And if you think we have in the past, just ask the Twyford growers how well we treated them during the drought. So there's improvement whether we stay or whether we become part of a unified council. We can continue to improve.
Seconded.
Thanks, Chair. It's just going back to that last sentence. I was extremely concerned that it was removing us from being neutral in our comments back to the Local Government Commission. The amendment that's proposed by Councillor Graham, I think, addresses that, and I'm happy to support it.
Other speakers?
No, I'll be speaking against that, or voting against that, I should say. And I think that the body of the report actually shows that neutrality that I think is being asked, rather than necessarily having another line in the submission.
Other speakers? Do you wish to sum up, Councillor Grant?
I'm fine. Where is?
Well, I'll put the motion as amended. All those in favour, please say, or please raise your hand. This is the amendment, yeah. And against. The amendment is lost, so we go back to the substantive motion. Anyone who hasn't spoken? Yeah, absolutely, you haven't spoken.
I would just like to oppose. It's on page 36, just above the heading says a standalone regional council. It's, I'm referring to the last line of page 35, and the actual recommendation as such is on page 36, in the middle of the page.
Okay, so you want to have that removed? I'm just consulting standing orders here because I'm not sure who's eligible to second that, whether someone who's already moved or seconded is actually eligible to go again. I don't think they are, but we need to confirm that. In the meantime, is there a seconder for that? Cease and desist. It fails for lack of a seconder.
Seconded by persons who have not yet spoken.
Yeah, seconded by someone who's not yet spoken. So we go back to the substantive motion. Is anyone who hasn't spoken yet, would they like to speak? Maybe I'll have a go. Yeah, well, one's been beaten and one has lapsed through lack of a seconder. So we're now back to the substantive motion. Anyone who hasn't spoken. So everyone's happy? I'll take an opportunity to speak then. I think this is part of dare I say it, an iterative process. So we get an opportunity as a council to express a view that is generally accepted by most, and not all of it perhaps, but generally accepted. The last sentence, I had an issue with it on the basis that, were we stepping into negative or positive territory? And I'll give you an example. Hastings District Council are supportive of this, but they want to see some changes. So ultimately they will have something similar in the last sentence, because even though they may state in their submission that they are generally supportive of the proposal, they need some clarity around certain issues. And it'll be interesting to see how that debate develops tomorrow. But they've come out as a council with a general view, I suppose. The beauty of this is it still gives individuals the chance to submit either in favour or against, or offer their own views, offer up other ideas and, dare I say it, iterations, because the Commission has been quite vocal and quite open in the fact that they will not be bringing back to the community a final proposal that will fail. So they will take everything on board, they will work it up. It may turn out, after they watch the podcast of this, because they assure us they have been watching what's been going on as far as the debates go around Hawke's Bay, and luckily for them that Regional Council did have the foresight to invest in cameras and technology, and they can come and watch this at their leisure, and I hope they do. They're not particularly well resourced, which has been one of their challenges right through. I heard from good authority this morning that Northland has 1,800 submissions against their draft proposal to digest, and as a result of that there may be some delays in them getting back to us, and that would stand to reason. Now I don't know how many of them are pro forma or whatever, but it does tell you that they have more on the book than just Hawke's Bay, so they've got to give us due consideration, and they've got to do their own, if you like, due diligence on how they come back with a final proposal that the people of Hawke's Bay, if it goes to a poll and a referendum, will accept or otherwise. So I take some comfort out of that. There is going to be more work done. There are going to be more considerations. There's been quite a good general discussion around the table today, which has taken us back to the original recommendation, and I'm quite happy to support that. Other speakers? Councillor Dick. Microphone. You better hope
Propose an amendment, and I think the best place to do it is on page 37, the italicised recommendation in the middle of the page, which presently reads Hawke's Bay Regional Council seeks that any final proposal, etc. My amendment is that Hawke's Bay Regional Council recommends that the Commission seriously considers retention of the Regional Council as a separate governance entity in any final reorganisation scheme. Full stop. And then it would go on, and and that any proposal that excludes the retention of a standalone council, etc., carries on.
The one remaining person who hasn't spoken, do you need that read out to you before you decide whether you're seconding that or not?
No, I'm happy to second that.
Happy to second that?
I've got it.
Do you wish to speak to that, Councillor?
I think I've spoken, Mr. Chairman,
Councillor Hewitt?
in depth, given my reasons.
You will have the chance to
stand
sum
by.
up. Councillor Hewitt is seconded. Do you wish to speak?
I'm pleased to support that. It encompasses the oath that I took as a councillor when I came on board, and so let's just see what happens with the vote.
Other speakers, we've heard some views. Are there any new nuances to any views? Councillor Bevan.
I'm opposed to this. Just one point. The Regional Planning Committee approved this without this piece that goes in. So what happens if if a majority of councillors support this? Do we have to go back to the Regional Planning Committee and seek their approval to the modified document?
No, the Regional Planning Committee is empowered only to make recommendations to Council. Council has the ultimate decision, so you can make changes.
Mr. Moore.
Yeah, your generosity that Councillor Belford talked about didn't mean so I can have Rick Barker's vote, I presume. Just in endorsing Councillor Dick's remarks, this just puts another option on the table, because if they get as many submissions as North Auckland have, they may actually go back to the status quo and say, well, let's have another relook. It's just reminding them that this is an option.
Sorry, Councillor Scott.
Mr. Chairman, I will speak in favour of the motion. I think that while I recognise we're not going to get unity around this committee, it's taking a stance that asks consideration be given to. It's a serious consideration of saying, look at the functions, how they're best preserved, and have they considered those functions clearly enough. I certainly did take an oath to serve all the people of Hawke's Bay when I became a councillor, and as Councillor Hewitt has said, and I think this is recognising that commitment to the reason I stood for Regional Council and what it stands for. And I think probably everybody is an environmentalist on this council in different ways. Some of us do, some of us say. I wouldn't claim to be don't think it's right to claim to be more than one than the other. So.
I think the tweaking of that particular paragraph in the way that Councillor Dick has suggested, I think is a good way and a very positive way of actually putting our view forward. So I'll be supporting that.
I had thought that in earlier discussions we had reached an accommodation that this council was going to be neutral on the matter. To me, this is a sort of a violation of the understanding, if you will.
Can you read out, have you got the wording there?
Sure.
So halfway down page 37, in italics, Hawke's Bay Regional Council recommends that the Local Government Commission seriously considers the retention of the Regional Council in any final reorganisation scheme. Any proposal, new sentence, and any proposal that excludes the retention of a standalone regional council includes a detailed analysis of the rationale for the Local Government Commission rejecting a standalone council in accordance with all the required provisions of the Local Government Act 2002. So it's basically a change to the first line.
Okay. Councillor Dick, do you wish to sum up?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think that the amendment is relatively benign. It simply ask the Commission to seriously consider retention, and if it decides not to, then to give clearly reasons for that in terms of the provision of the Act. So I believe it should be supported. The notion that we'd reached some consensus on neutrality, I can't remember that, and neutrality seems to me to be to have meanings dependent on one's perspective and the lens that one is looking through. I think that this submission as a whole is well considered, intelligent, and probing, and asks for questions and justification and for consideration of issues that the Local Government Commission must consider if it's, at the end of the day, it can say that it's done its job properly.
I'll put the motion as amended. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Let's have a show of hands. Aye. 6, no, 5. No. Thank you. That now becomes the substantive motion, so I'll put that unless there's any further discussion. The amended motion now becomes a substantive motion. Everyone's aware of that. So we'll put that again. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And against. Thank you. Right.